Welcome home and welcome back. I'm Dominic Raphael. This is up in Canada. Today is March the 18th. Beautiful Saturday afternoon, about 1:50. And the silence you can get from being in the wilderness is heart-stopping. It is so peaceful and so real that you can't help but feel a type of serenity come across you. Well, I just finished trying to use the electric snowblower, the Toro, and I've come to the conclusion that it's very difficult for the Toro to cut through cold snow. The type of snow after several windy days just becomes like rock. It can't cut through it. It doesn't have the power or the weight to do it, which is fine. I still believe that with an electric Toro or any electric snowblower or machine at that, it's used for maintaining the task at hand. So, for instance, in the early fall, after the first snow falls, that's when you take out that electric snowblower and you blow that snow, because it hasn't had a chance to harden and crystallize over the winter. Now, we are at that undisclosed location in the wilderness, and we don't get out here very often. But when we do, we try to enjoy every moment of it, like today. So, I'll check back in shortly after I have my hummus, my Cheez-It crackers with hummus, and cold pork and beans. You know what? It's like being in the wilderness, probably the way they did it in the old days. So, stand by. We'll be right back. So, when we talk about the good old days, we talk about those were the days. They're not the same days as they were 60 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 200. So much has changed and had advanced in the last 100 years up in Canada alone. The Canadian arm for the ISS station, I think that's what they call it, the ISS. That's technology. Google, that came from Canada. There's a bird trail, if you will, a crumb trail of advancements over the last 150 years in technology. When we went from hot off the iron and into the fire. Kind of the same analogy we use today. A little bit on economics up in Canada. I stopped by Tim Hortons. Now, they're not promoting me, and neither is these guys. But I stopped by Tim Hortons, and I was thinking I should get something to satisfy my hunger until I'm done work. And the snow blowing. But I wanted to try something more nutritional. And there wasn't a whole lot to choose from, considering the economics and cost involved with, the expense of things that aren't good for you. They're just, man's pleasures, like donuts and coffee. I don't know if coffee is bad for you, but that's neither here nor there. But I was standing there looking at all these sugar-coated donuts, and they have this new one. It's like a donut nest, and there's a bunch of Easter eggs in it. It's really cute. Because Easter's coming up. I mean, oh, should we even begin to talk about nostalgic events that have been developed over the last several, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 years? Things like Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day and Halloween. And now we have St. Patrick's Day, and we have, well, for us, Louis Riel Day, which is, well, that's more of a political statement than it is a celebration. Well, it should be a celebration because he spoke his words in truth, for that matter. And it's hard to find people to speak their truth nowadays. There's always a conspiracy, there's always a cover-up, there's always an ulterior motive. At least that's been my experience. Needless to say, this stand in front of the donut shop idea, like a child, you know, who's looking in a candy store with all those candies staring back at them. And I thought, what do I need to do to control my craving for sugar? And I thought, I'm just going to order a Timbits. So I did. I ordered a Timbits, and I was shocked. A Timbits, that's that little tiny donut hole in donuts, was 37 cents. Surprised it wasn't almost 50 cents. Although I can understand it being 37 cents, because if a donut is like $1.50 or $1.25, it's like one of those donuts is 1/5 of that cost. And I even requested a receipt. Kind of my own nostalgic take on the day. It's little things like that that truly give you memories that you don't forget. And we are so very capable of memories. Now I'm going to go into another rant to do with another controversy that is running chaos throughout our cities on the planet. And it's moping and doping. When you've been recovered for over 22 years, a lot of your human senses, the things that were supposed to develop at an early age, at the age of puberty, for example, where you have the analogy and the concept of the difference between what is natural and what isn't natural. It's also a time for experimenting when it comes to drugs. At least it was in my day. There was a lot of drugs even in our time. They were mostly hallucinogenics. Mushrooms, acid, I don't even know what they call it nowadays. Crystal meth, maybe crack cocaine. They're all very rude names, but true names. Needless to say, when you've been recovered for that many years, you start to get back all of the senses you didn't develop when you were a teenager. Or even at puberty, 11 or 12 years old. That's usually when puberty starts for most guys anyways that I know of. With girls, I think it's even earlier than that. But yes, in that time, in those days, mushrooms, acid, still cocaine, and I'm sure there was other hallucinogenics that they were experimenting with at the time. I think it's around that time they discovered ayahuasca, or at least the pilgrims discovered. And then later on, I think it's peyote, which is a native drug, or known by the native population. But it was used for medicine, from what I understand. Allowed to bring you clarity to your new discovered and developed puberty, maybe? I don't know. I'm only assuming. But I find a lot of this enlightening simply because when someone reflects back on their past, they can come to a lot of conclusions that weren't clear to them when they were indulged in the paraphernalia of the time. I remember visiting a relative at a very early age. We were coming back by bike. It was storming, like major thunderstorms. And we were trying to get home as soon as possible because the lightning was just so severe and so intense. And along the way, we had relatives that lived just off of a back lane. And I remember that day, it was a Saturday, maybe a Sunday, walking in and seeing all kinds of people all around. At the time, there was a party going on. But that's as far as it got. I remember walking in. I remember looking on the mantle, the fireplace mantle. And then after that, everything's blank. At least for now. I'm sure over time, maybe another months, couple of years, who knows. All of what this life experiences have brought me will come into light. Some have been very clarified in the last, since my nephew's wedding. I don't remember how long ago that was. Probably about 8 or 10 years ago. Anyways, that's my rant of the day. That's moping and doping. That's the economics of up in Canada. And a little history lesson. We'll see you soon enough. I'm Dominic Raphael. This is Up in Canada. And cheers. Enjoy your day, because up in Canada, the temperature with no wind, I'm guessing radiation, heat, I'd say it's close to zero, if not over that. So cheers.